Sushan Modi is back on. He's an immigration expert, and there's a couple of big immigration topics I think you'll be interested in today. Number one, let's go through the less exciting one first here. Welcome back, Sushan, by the way. Good to have you on the James Show again.
Thanks for having me back. It's an honor to be back.
Well, don't say it's an honor. I'm just a guy. But so we have a judge that has ruled against Trump's use of the Alien Deportation Act? What's it called? The one from the 1700s?
Yeah, it's the Alien Enemies Act.
Yeah, Alien Enemy. It just slipped my mind, and I didn't have my notes in front of me. So thank you already. And I think the justification on that was that it's supposed to be a wartime law, but we're not at wartime. How do you break this down for us, Sushan?
That's exactly right. And you know, it's good that we've been talking about this because it sort of validates the reasoning that I was discussing earlier with you. But it is an old rule. It's from 1798, as you pointed out. Last time it was used, just as a recap, was World War II during the Japanese internment camps to swiftly deport people without any due process. And so the Trump administration, tried to use it. We saw that the 200 individuals, mostly Venezuelans, being deported to El Salvador. And just recently, a few days ago, a district court judge in Texas, who was actually appointed by President Trump, I think around 2018, so the Trump appointee, had ruled just recently on the merit of the case, stating that the Alien Enemies Act could not be used in this instance. So it was illegal to use it. And so that's a huge thing because the previous rulings really dealt with limited issues like habeas, like the right to, argue against your own detention and go to court. This is a ruling on the actual merits of it.
But it sounds so procedural here that, everyone's calling for full due process for anyone who's going to get deported or sent back to their home country or pushed across the border. It seems almost impossible. So you mean to tell me that if a guy comes across the Rio Grande River, we pick him up, we have to give him a whole court case or a hearing, or what is owed to this guy? Because I think logic would dictate you just push him back across the river.
Well, in the scenario that you just gave, actually, there's a different rule.
Good.
So there's something called expedited removals. So if somebody crosses the border and they're caught, recently, even under the Obama and Biden administrations, this rule was in place.
Yeah, because they would count those as deported if they turned people around at the border. They were accused of padding their stats, but still, it existed.
Well, all the administrations have done that. So not just those two, but even the prior Trump administration and Bush administrations too. But those are actual removal orders. So they could just return them without a removal order. But the main thing that's done is called expedited removal orders, where you don't see a judge or anything if they're crossing the border and they don't have a fear of return, like they don't get that interview, they don't have a fear of return, then they could be quickly removed without seeing a judge. And they actually get a 5-year bar from re-entering the U.S. again. And then if they try to illegally re-enter again, then that is often a permanent bar. So let's say they even have U.S. citizen children or a future U.S. citizen wife, they probably will not be able to adjust in the future because of that illegal reentry after a prior order of removal. And that's been in the Immigration Nationality Act for a long time.
So does that give the Trump administration a legal avenue to work with? Because could he claim that these are expedited removals?
No, because generally those are restricted to within 100 miles of the border. Now, what the Trump administration did try to do before the Alien Enemies Act is expand that definition of expedited removal orders to try to quickly remove individuals. But even that can be limited to only like the last 2 years because it comes from a federal law. What the Trump administration was trying to do here with the Alien Enemies Act is dramatically expand that. So it's not limited in duration of time or geographical area of crossing the border. Just try to quickly remove individuals even just suspected of any gang, not convicted, just even suspected from an anonymous tip. And so that's what this judge ruled was illegal. And specifically what the judge found was, that law from 1798, it dealt with wartime, as you correctly pointed out. And so the judge mentioned how this is not an invasion, and then specifically also how it's not against a nation or government. And so those are the main reasons why. There's a third issue that it could contradict what's called the Refugee Act of 1980 to not deport people who could get tortured or killed. But the judge didn't rule on the merits of that issue because of procedural reasons.
All right, the Trump administration announced a program that would give $1,000 to illegal immigrants who self-deport, along with covering their airfare or bus fare or whatever the transportation cost is out of here. Your thoughts on that, real quick?
Yeah, I mean that issue hasn't completely. I mean, it's brand new, as you currently pointed out. Whether there's a few issues with it. I mean, one. We'll see how that procedurally works out. I mean, how are you going to end up paying individuals to leave? And then how many people are actually going to take them up to voluntary self-deport? And there is another rule, which is part of the Immigration Nationality Act, called voluntary departure or voluntary return. So let's say you get put in deportation proceedings and then you don't want to argue your case anymore, but you have like no criminal history often. It's for those individuals. And they just want to leave. They could pay their own ticket, and a judge could order them to receive voluntary departure if the judge wants. And then they could pay their own ticket and leave. And the benefit to them is they don't get that 10-year removal order. Now, they might have other bars for overstaying, like unlawful presence, so they're not off the hook or anything. But they at least don't get the removal order bar against them. And so we've seen, a lot of voluntary departures just under that. In terms of getting paid, this is novel. This has not been done before, to my knowledge.
We'll have to see how it works out, and it'll give us something to talk about next time. Susha Modi, immigration expert on The James Show. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bill Malugin on Fox News this morning alerted me that we have a new program that would pay illegals to self-deport.
Good morning to you. So Fox News can report exclusively that DHS will announce today that they're going to start paying for the commercial flights of illegal aliens who self-deport from the U.S. And on top of that, they're going to pay them an additional $1,000 stipend once they're confirmed to have left the country. Now, DHS says doing this is going to be significantly cheaper for the American taxpayer. They tell us that right now it costs on average about $17,000 to arrest, detain, and deport someone. They say paying for self-deportations and the stipend will only cost about $4,500 per person. That's about 70% cheaper. Aliens are going to have to register to self-deport on the new CBP Home app to access that DHS financial assistance, as well as announce their intent to leave the country. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem tells Fox in part, quote, "If you are here illegally, self-deportation is the best, safest, and most cost-effective way to leave the United States."
All right, that's a great idea. I love that. I wouldn't mind if it was a little higher. Because we've tried self-deportation programs in the past, and it never works. If they're already here and they've got a great job, why would they go back to their third world country? Just because we asked them to? So there's always been a lack of incentive, and this is it. And if you're saying, well, we shouldn't be giving them any money. Well, if we deport them the standard way, where we go arrest them, detain them, and then deport them, it's much, much more expensive. So this is better. This might make it happen faster, too, without all those court cases and due process and all those problems. They all just instantly go away. In fact, I like this idea. I've always thought, with my capitalist pig mindset, I'm an Austrian economist, I always look at the incentive side first. And I would say, don't just give them $1,000. I don't mind if we give them a gift bag. Maybe we get a bunch of corporations to donate to it, or we can raise a bunch of money to it. But if you're an illegal and you're going to be deported, the idea that we were going to pay for your transportation was already baked in the cake. That's neither here nor there. But this idea, let's talk about that incentive, because, let's make it easier on them. Let's entice them, because you would probably get more participation in the program if you made it nicer. Let's get them a little gift bag. Like, how when we went to birthday parties when we were kids, they didn't have like a little gift bag that all the kids got, but now everyone gets a gift. It'll be like that, and it'll be stuff that's sort of related to going back to your home country. It could be like, I don't know, maybe some Adidas so you can keep walking when you get to the border or wherever you're at, or some hand sanitizer, maybe some snacks for the trip. Corn nuts, or Buc-ee's has really good trail mix options. Let's give them a little gift bag on the way out. Say, listen, we're not inhumane. We're not doing this out of any spite or any antipathy or racism. We want you to have a good time. We want you to have a good life. Just go have it back over in your country. Just go ahead and get out of here. Here's $1,000. Go. You like that? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Now, I like that if it works. If this is going to be a program where we try and people still don't come show up for it, then maybe we need to up the incentive. Maybe it needs to be $10,000 because, $17,000 is what it costs to deport them the standard way, where you go hunt them down, arrest them, detain them, put them through their little hearings, put them into different detention centers, and you got to feed them and give them medical care and all that goofy stuff. I think we might need to jack that up. Would you be okay with it being $10,000? What would you add to the goodie bag? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Meanwhile, this weekend, it didn't make big news, but it did make some news. Dallas Morning News had a nice little write-up on this. There was another protest Saturday against the Trump deportations. Now, they weren't specific to the deportations to everyone that they talked to, but that seemed to be like the people who organized it. That was their intent, and then I guess they all devolve into just anti-Trump stuff. But the thing that cracked me up is about 20 people showed up. 20 people? I got more than 20 people at the last James Show listener meet and greet. But 20 people, how does that even make the news? You had more people go see any band at any band hall all up and down Deep Ellum or uptown or downtown. Did they all get news? I mean, we had more than 20 people watch my daughter's soccer game. Did that make news this weekend? All right, so a couple of the organizers, a group called 99%, another group called Movimiento, which just means the movement. They were there. They got to talk to the Dallas Morning News. But a couple of key passages from the article that I think you're going to love. Organizers said on Instagram that Sunday's protest was for everyone who believes in justice, equality, and real change. Well, who the hell doesn't believe in justice and equality? And I'm not sure if you agree in real change, because this is real change. You want to continue the way it was for the last 20, 30 years, your entire life, basically, where you come across the border, and if you get across here, it's ollie oxen free. You get all kinds of free schooling and healthcare and whatever, and we're not going to make any great efforts to deport you. You can go ahead and get a job and live in the shadows, and we'll sort of accommodate that. We'll make you press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish, and no, this is change. You're not for change. You're for the status quo. And you're not for justice. People who broke the law being held accountable and having to live up to the punishment that's afforded to breaking that law in the law books. That's not justice. Being sent back to your home country is injustice. Not being able to stay here illegally is not justice. The heck are you people talking about? If you're just joining us, we're having fun with this new program to pay illegals to self-deport.
Good morning to you. So Fox News can report exclusively that DHS will announce today that they're going to start paying for the commercial flights of illegal aliens who self-deport from the U.S. And on top of that, they're going to pay them an additional $1,000 stipend once they're confirmed to have left the country. Now, DHS says doing this is going to be significantly cheaper for the American taxpayer. They tell us that right now it costs on average about $17,000 to arrest, detain, and deport someone. They say paying for self-deportations and the stipend will only cost about $4,500 per person. That's about 70% cheaper. Aliens are going to have to register to self-deport on the new CBP Home app to access that DHS financial assistance, as well as announce their intent to leave the country. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem tells Fox in part, quote, "If you are here illegally, self-deportation is the best, safest, and most cost-effective way to leave the United States to avoid arrest."
Okay, so I like the idea. I think their head's in the right place. I think you're going to need a little more incentive than $1,000, because what do they get if they leave? They have to go to a third world country with $1,000, but what do they get if they stay? They get to stay in a first world country and probably make more than that every week. So I'm not sure if that's enough. I would be okay with $10,000. I'd be okay, whatever it takes to get them to go. Right? We would save far more money than that, aside from just the cost of them leaving. Of course, then Smacky over here on YouTube says he would self-deport for $10,000. Yeah, I'm from, Mexico. That's the ticket. Let's go. Arriba. What would you do? 800-288-9227. Do you like the idea of paying illegals to self-deport? I would also like to give them a goodie bag, maybe. I was recommending maybe give them some Adidas, so they can keep walking when they get there. Maybe a little American flag. We could stick in some Buc-ee's corn nuts so they have something to snack on. Or, I'm sorry, Buc-ee's trail mix. Because I was stuck. I don't know. I'm really into this Buc-ee's trail mix thing. They got so many different ones, and I've gone through all of them, and I don't even know which one's my favorite. But that would be in there. I asked Bruce on the break, what would you put in their goodie bag? He said deodorant. I thought, whoa. Are you saying illegal immigrants smelled? I'm very offended by that. 800-288-9227. Paul, Bedford, you're on the James Show. What would you do?
Oh, okay. I have actually been sending direct messages to Kristi Noem, to Donald Trump, to Elon Musk, anybody who would listen, to give him $5,000 to get back home. One reason is we had a president who was basically inviting these people to risk their lives to come here. That's a shameful thing.
Yeah.
And I think we need to give them a little more. We need to give them $5,000 per person, maybe 15 up to a family, so they can reestablish their lives back where they belong.
Right. I think this will work if you get the number high enough. I really don't think $1,000 is high enough.
No, I don't think it is either. And we also need to give them we apologize because we created this situation that they're in. And then the faster they get on the app and do this, the faster they can get back in the queue to re-enter legally after a period of time.
Oh, that's fantasy now. There's like an 11-year waiting list if you're a non-skilled person to come into the United States from Mexico. If they self-deport, they're gone for good. The thing is they're working here and they're trying to save up enough money, because I've seen it happen. What they do is whenever they have enough money to live off comfortably for the rest of their life, they go back and never to return, and they take the money with them. So why don't we just go ahead and give them the money or a big chunk of that and tell them to go ahead and get the heck out of here?
Why not? All the money we're saving through Doge, or look, all these countries get money from the United States anyway. Just deduct that money it costs to get them back home.
Yeah, from their foreign aid. Right. We're giving
exactly.
You got all kinds of good ideas. Thank you there, Paul in Bedford. Appreciate you calling, sir.
All right. Good job.
This is Dean. Oh, he's going to say a compliment, and I cut him off. This is Dean in Fort Worth. You're on the James Show. What do you think about $1,000 bonus for self-deporters?
Yes, sir. Well, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I think it's awesome to give them an incentive to go. I think it would be a better option if we could stack a consequence on top of that. So, for example, as part of this incentive program, give the people a certain grace period. Okay, so you have 90 days to self-deport. That'll give them time to kind of, plan things out, because obviously they're not going to do that last minute. After 90 days, I think the option for the incentive needs to go away, and they need to transition into a daily fine if they choose not to take advantage of it.
No. You can't do a fine. They don't pay fines. If you're looking for the disincentive or the carrot and stick approach, why not? If for everyone who comes here after this initial wave of deportations, if you're still here and we catch you, not only will we deport you, but you're going to sit in jail for 30 days before you get deported. And I mean, that will just, I don't want to say it'll ruin your life, but it'll be a big disincentive, because I never thought it was that much of a punishment to just deport people when they get caught here. And I think back way back, like when I first moved to Dallas from Bug Tussle, I lived in a not affluent apartment complex, and the two apartments that are across the walkway from me, both of them illegals, they were brothers. And one of the brothers got in a fist fight, so the cops came and arrested him. So I had to go downtown with the kids and try and get him out, but he was going to get deported, and they weren't too concerned about that, because they're going to deport him. They're going to drop him off in Nuevo Laredo. They'll wire him some money. He'll come back across the river, jump on a Greyhound. He'll be back here by Wednesday. And so so we have no real disincentive baked into the cake. So that's probably good thinking there, Dean.
Well, just an idea. Wanted to throw it out there.
Good stuff. Well, you added a lot. Appreciate it. That's Dean. Next, if you want to be next, 800-288-9227. We're going to talk to Kathy in Plano. You're on WBAP. What do you think about the incentive for self-deporters?
Yeah, I was thinking that they get more money if they do it sooner. So if they register to self-deport, like in the first month, they do get $10,000, and then if it's after that, it goes down to $5,000, and then so the sooner they do it, they get more money, which would be more incentive.
That's a great idea. Why aren't you in charge?
Just an idea.
Well, I'm glad we're all coming up with these ideas because I have always rolled my eyes so hard at previous presidents and administrations that are like, well, we've got this app to where if you self-deport, then you're not going to get punished and it'll put you back in line to. Who would do that? Who would voluntarily? They got the sweet life up here. They left that country to come here for the lifestyle they're living now. You're going to have to give them some reason to jump through that hoop, and it's going to have to be monetary. It's going to have to be so big that they're willing to give up this sweet life that they have here illegally in America to go back home.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they don't, like they said, there's got to be a disincentive as well. Like no chance of coming back.
Well, they already don't have that chance of coming back, but I like your idea of the incentive declining as time goes along. Good stuff. I love that idea. I think that might actually work if the incentive is a little bigger. All right, let's start at $1,000. And if it doesn't work, maybe we'll up it to $5,000 or even $10,000, whatever it takes to get them out of here. Because to do it the traditional way through the criminal process by, finding them, arresting them, detention, transportation, it's about $17,000 per illegal. So we'd still be coming out ahead. I don't even mind giving them a little gift bag on top of that. What do you think? 800-288-9227. This is Tony and Justin, or is this Justin and Tony? You're on WBAP. What do you think about this incentive plan?
Hey, this is Tony and Justin. Hey, I like it, but I've thought about it for a long time, and I'd prefer, instead of $1,000 U.S., I'd give them $500,000 in their currency. I'd just print up their currency for them, load it into a suitcase, and send them home with it.
I don't think we can counterfeit like that.
Well, I don't know if anybody would know about it. If their government had a problem with it, their government, I think, would do all they could to make sure that nobody came across our border anymore.
Well, they might start counterfeiting our currency. I like the idea. Let's just give them real pesos then. We don't have to invent a new crime on top of that to get them out of here. And look, $500,000 pesos is like $14 anyway. So who knows?
That's true.
Thank you very much, Tony and Justin. Thank you, sir. James and Snyder, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, this is James and Snyder. Hey, first of all, I'd like to say we're going to just go completely broke if we got to deport all these white folks back to Britain, where they came from. There's way too many white folks, and when they came over on the Mayflower, they invaded everything. They killed everybody, put a whole genocide on an entire race of people, and now we're going to send them back with $1,000. How are we going to get you out of here? Are you going to leave for $1,000? And the last caller is the biggest idiot that I've ever heard talk about some dang illegal stuff. Look, here, let me just tell you like this, okay?
Okay.
I didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on me. This is the most racist outfit that I've ever seen, and the Trump is the most racist that I've ever experienced. And I'm ashamed of you, and I'm ashamed of everyone who listens to this religiously. Get out of here. You deserve repentance. You deserve repentance. And I want to see y'all, please, Lord. I want to hear y'all ask for forgiveness, please.
All right. Well, on behalf of James and Snyder, I would like to apologize. My ancestors did immigrate here illegally. They overstayed their bounds. They didn't fill out the proper paperwork with the Native Americans. Some of them self-deported, but enough of us stayed. That what did we do? Oh, yeah, we petitioned the home country for membership back into the union. Then we broke off into our own country. He's making a joke there, but there's a kernel of truth in all that. What a great fake voice, too. When we ask, why are you so concerned about illegal immigration, James? What's the worst if you just have millions of people swarm into this place and they overwhelm the native population? How do you think we got Texas? How do you think we got California? Yeah, we know what happens. As soon as we outnumber the natives by like 10-1, all of a sudden we're back and we have a revolution. We kick out Santa Anna and we petition the mother country for annexation. I don't know. I don't know if he was in favor of the stipend, though. Kevin, North Richland Hills, you're on the James Show. What do you think?
Hey, I think paying the people to self-deport is idiocy.
Why is that?
They came here illegally, and who is going to pay them that money? It's you and I. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how old you are. I'm 63. I'm retired. And
I'm not paying for any of that. And this is, if you went in another country and you were there illegally, say over to Europe or whatever, and your visa ran out, you'd be on a train or something out of that country.
So you don't like this program because you don't want to have to pay for it?
I think it's.
You can just say yes. It's not a trick question.
I think it's wrong.
Okay, but it cost the taxpayer $17,000 to deport them without the incentive to actually go find them, make a list, round them up, detain them, and finally get them out of here. The average cost per deportee in the current system is $17,000. If we do it this way and they get on the app and they take even if they take the $1,000, we come out ahead. It's about $4,500. So even if we gave them $10,000, you as the taxpayer, Kevin, would still be coming out ahead in North Richland Hills.
I was a flight mechanic for North American Airlines, and there were deportees on a 757 that they took down to the border, and they were shackled and everything, and armed guards with M16s, and they boarded them on the bus. And the last guy looked back at the guard and he said, "I'll see you next week." Revolving door.
Yep. Well, we've heard a lot of that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I guess aircraft mechanics do pretty good that he's retired at 63. Did you hear that? He's retired at 63? Oh, man. I'm ready to retire, and I turn 48 later this week. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Trump has proposed a $1,000 bonus for self-deporters, along with covering the cost of their transportation back to their home country. Will this work? Is this a good idea? Are you in favor of it? Are you against it? How much do you think it should be? Should we give them a gift bag to go along with it? So here's some lovely parting gifts. Get like some shake and bake chicken. What they used to put in the Price is Right departing gifts. It's the weirdest bag of stuff. Yes, here's some shoe polish. Here's some shake and bake. And here's Fabuloso, the purple one. This is Brian in Grand Prairie. You're on WBAP. What do you think about it?
Hey, James. Thanks. Thanks for taking my call. But I just think this is some kind of a Band-Aid. They're always talking, doing this with immigration and this with the immigration. Why don't they take that money and do actual immigration reform where we can get people coming here legally like we did in the early 1900s where we were building this country? And, with all the infrastructure that we have that is needing repair and, increasing. I see it around Texas. There's building going on everywhere where highways are years and years in construction. Why don't we get these immigrants coming into this country and putting them to work like we did to build all the great cities up in the Northeast?
I think that's a large part what's happening. I think a lot of the people that are working on these highways were not born here and are not legally allowed to be here if we do a little bit of digging. But, you talk about opening up more legal avenues. We allow more legal immigration into this country than any other country on earth. It's over 1 million now per year can come in legally. So we are pretty generous. There's no one who's more generous than we are. What do you think the number should be?
As many people that want to come here.
Okay, so you're just an open border guy.
After I got out of the service, I was living in Germany, and I applied over there and lived as a civilian in Germany for a year, working and making, being a profitable citizen when I lived there. What is the problem with doing the same thing here where we can have people working and making money?
We do that. We have a legal immigration system here. We don't have. Listen, here's the problem with open borders. If you have open borders, what happens if 100 million Pakistanis move here tomorrow and 200 million Indian people move here tomorrow and 100 million Bangladeshi people move here tomorrow, and all of a sudden we are quickly outnumbered with foreigners? This isn't America anymore. We've lost our country.
Well, we lost it when the English got off the Mayflower.
Yeah, the Indians lost it, right? So, would you like to repeat the mistake that the Indians made? Would you like to just cease to exist? Would you like to not have a nation anymore? That's exactly right.
Well, there was 500 nations here when the English got here, when Columbus got here.
Agreed. And you just confirmed that allowing unfettered illegal immigration will wipe out your nation or wipe out 500 nations. You have 500 examples of why that's a bad idea.
and they are still here.
Yeah, but their nation isn't here, right?
This is America,
right? So if you open the border and you allow millions of illegals to come in, your nation goes away, right?
But
Brian,
if they're
that's a yes or no.
If they're legal, it's still America.
No, if they're the part about it being legal is so we can limit it. If a billion people from the other side of the planet came here tomorrow, even if it was legal, we would cease to exist.
Why is that?
Okay, what Indian law were we breaking then?
What?
What do you mean, why is that? We already established 500 nations were here before we came here illegally, and they got all wiped out because we swarmed and overwhelmed them, right?
And we founded our Constitution on the Iroquois Confederation.
Yeah, you're just...
Parts of our own...
McFly! That's not... None of this is getting through, is it?
It is.
Okay, so Brian, let's try this again, because I'm running out of time. If we allowed 1 billion immigrants to come here legally, would we still have the United States of America?
Yes.
Okay, so all those examples of all these other countries that got wiped out, that's just an anomaly, and the one exception will happen when we do what Brian from Grand Prairie wants to do.
Well, when we assimilate people into this country, that's how our laws are. They are going by our laws.
Yeah, that's the point, Brian. You can't... 300 million people are not going to assimilate 1 billion people. 1 billion people will assimilate the 300 million. That's what we already established when we came and did the examples of us wiping out the Indians and coming here illegally. Didn't work out so good for the Indians, did it? Wouldn't work out so good for us, Brian. Oh, I got to go. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. All right, so a proposal that had been talked about before was actually pen to paper, was put out this morning by the Department of Homeland Security. Trump administration is proposing a $1,000 bonus payment to illegals who self-deport. You get on the CBP Home app. You tell them to come pick you up. They'll cover your costs to go home and pay you $1,000. I like that. I like the fact that it's using an incentive. I think it's going to have to be higher than $1,000, but we're still coming out ahead. As it stands right now, the average deportation costs $17,000. If you go and you arrest them, you detain them, then you deport them. If they do it this way, the average cost is expected to be around $4,500. So even if we do give them $10,000, it's still cheaper than deporting them manually. And on top of that, wouldn't we see like a big drove of them leave? Doesn't that sound like something that would actually work? 800-288-9227. Mark, Dallas, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Trump recently introduced a $5,000 baby boom incentive, and every single person or every comment I read just laughed at the insignificance of that. So you got to ask yourself, who is this $1,000 meant to target? Which illegals are going to be like, oh, $1,000? That works for me. I don't see who's going to get on board with that. Like you already said, when I got my COVID bucks, I used it to paint my house. And sure enough, it was, a Mexican gentleman that came and did it. And that dude was completely booked that he wouldn't drive more than 30 miles from where he lived. So here's this guy had plenty of work and plenty of people working under him, making more than $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
So who are you targeting?
So who would take the $1,000? You're kind of making a point there. So the people who think $1,000 is enough to go home are probably people who are about to go home anyway. Because a lot of the illegals that I used to work with when I was like waiting tables and whatnot, they're gone now. They made a bunch of money. They took it. They went home. So I think if you're like 5 to 10 years of reaching your little monetary goal and going back to wherever you're from, if $1,000 gets you to that goal, we'd get those people. But that's not a whole lot. I agree with you, Mark. Also, if it's a lot of the people who are just going to go back anyway. I think they would say, well, if I'm going to go home anyway, might as well take the $1,000, because I agree with your sentiment that it's not worth uprooting your life and going back to a third world country and lowering your standard of living, because that $1,000 isn't going to last very long. So would it change your mind, Mark, if we bumped it up to $10,000?
No, I don't think it would. I think the only thing that's really going to help this is going after the companies who are hiring illegals and making them pay the $10,000 fine through felony tax evasion, if we can make that happen.
Yeah. See, the big problem with that is the there has been this bipartisan behind the curtains aspect of illegal immigration where Democrats like it because it gives them the potential for new voters and, they happen to vote Team Blue. The Republicans, not like the little R Republicans, but the big donors, the rich ones, the Mitt Romneys, the people that own meatpacking plants or construction companies or, big home builders or the people that employ a lot of labor, they like them coming in because they like the cheap labor. And so there's just been this sort of screw job by party elites on both sides there. And I would really like to see what would happen if we did that, Mark. What if we do go after the people who are employing these guys? That would be super interesting to see.
Yeah, I was going to say another funny thing is with Kristi Noem's little ad, she's talking about how you'll never be able to come back. But so many people say, I'll be back next week. And it's like, okay, well, Trump's out in 4 years. So
I like that part too. It's like you're never going to come back
right now, and I'll come right back in 3 years. Like, what do I care? Or maybe I'll just ride it out until I get illegally deported, and then come back when there's a new Democrat in office.
Yeah, I like the threat. You'll never be able to come back. Well, they're already not here illegally. That's like saying we're going to make drugs illegal, so you'll never be able to get them again. Sure, that'll work. Thank you, Mark. Good stuff.
You got me fooled.
Right?
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye. Lynn and Rockwall, you're on WBAP. What do you think about incentivizing people to self-deport?
Well, I was just thinking, I don't think it's going to be a very good incentive because they don't get to take their stuff. So I actually had a couple ideas. Those who are hardworking, I think maybe they should be sponsored by their employer, pay double taxes, never are allowed to go on public assistance, can't vote, but they can get on a list to be one of the first to go through legalizing, hardworking, because I see a lot of them.
Well, you just want to expand the worker visa program. We already have that. It's the worker visa program. You just want to expand an existing program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, instead of incentivizing, like I said, they're not going to go without their stuff. So
why wouldn't they get to take their stuff?
Signs up. Well, because they've got their stuff. I mean, they need to have signs everywhere around saying, self-deport and you can take your stuff. If not,
all right, define stuff, because
with nothing.
The illegals that I know that have gone back, they don't take like their mattress and bed frame and furniture with them. That just gets passed on to the next illegal who's going to replace them, at the job or family member.
All the ones I know in my neighborhood and stuff that you rent out, there's like, they all have new trucks. It's like, if we give you $1,000 and fly you home, you leave your truck. It's like, no, just load up your truck and head for the border and have a good day.
Hey, you can keep your truck. We'll just we'll cover the gas money. How about that?
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Lynn and Rockwall.